Hey, how's it going everyone? This is Dominick from the Comic Book Report YouTube channel, over here doing another guest review for Organic Price Books. And today I'm back with another Marvel Omnibus overview. Today I'm talking about Jonathan Hickman's Secret Warriors Omnibus. This is one I was really ecstatic to finally get to, and I can't wait to give you guys the overview. First, a couple things about this book. This omnibus has issues that were written primarily by Jonathan Hickman, although with some help from Brian Michael Bendis early on. It was illustrated by creators such as Stefano Caselli, Alessandro Vitti, and more. The comics in this volume were first published by Marvel Comics beginning in 2007. As far as what this book collects, it collects Secret Warriors issues 1 through 28, Mighty Avengers issue 13 and 18, Dark Reign, The List, Secret Warriors issue 1, Siege, Secret Warriors issue 1, and material from Dark Reign, New Nation issue 1. This is an oversized hardcover omnibus edition with glossy print paper stock, a sewn binding, and a total of 904 pages. Looking at the book itself, I will say that this is the standard edition cover for this omnibus. There is also a direct market cover. I'll go ahead and throw up a quick thumbnail so you can compare. But again, this is the standard edition, and overall, I really like the layout here. You might notice that the bottom half of the cover is whited out. This is a design choice we see throughout most of the covers of the actual Secret Warriors run. It is a really interesting stylistic choice, but I think it looks really nice. I do like the white spine, of course. As we got to the back of the dust jacket though, I will say that it was funny seeing the thumbnails for all of the different issues collected in this book when we have so much white space. I love seeing the thumbnails, especially in a modern omnibus that's less guaranteed compared to something like the Silver Age omnibuses from Marvel, and I still really love that we have it, but again, the white space is just kind of quirky. I think other than that though, this book is extraordinarily well made. I love the design work from the dust jacket to the under the dust jacket artwork to just the entire format and layout of this book. And speaking of this book, I do want to again just show the dust jacket off one final time. This time I'll also show the interior flaps so you can get a whole look at what this dust jacket looks like. Again, this is the standard edition. The direct market will be a little different as far as the front cover and maybe the picture on the spine. Overall, I think this is extraordinarily well made. I do enjoy seeing that white space on the cover. I think especially because it's reflective of so many of the issues. It just looks really nice, and it looks really different when I see the front cover compared to some of the other omnibuses I've got. As far as the under the dust jacket artwork for this book, I do also really like this. We have a great kind of a wraparound battle sequence from the run here, printed on the book itself. You gotta love the under the dust jacket artwork we have with a lot of the modern hardcover books for some of these big publishers. I remember a little over a decade now, this was not happening. I love seeing it. It feels like bonus artwork. I get excited every time, and I think with a print like this, that we get this full page kind of wraparound print here, I love it. And now just a quick look at the binding for prospective collectors out there. Right from the jump, I will say the sewn binding was done really well on my copy. I have a really nice eye here. I think it laid open really beautifully. I think that this was just extraordinarily well bound. I will be flipping through the collection a bit, so you can take a look for yourself as far as what the gutter loss may or may not look like, things like that. But for my money and with my eyes here, I think that there's no real complaint. Okay, now that I've gone through explaining all that, I'll go ahead and dive into the collection proper, and I can give you the overview of this run, this collection, so you can hopefully get a little bit of an idea of what to expect. I'll try to go to minimal to no spoilers where possible, so you can enjoy the fullness of this book for yourself, should you choose to get it. I will say I went in relatively blind on this series. I knew it was mostly a Jonathan Hickman book. I know Bendis helped in the beginning as far as the setup and early stuff. I really like Bendis as well, so this was definitely a selling point. I thought the book sounded fascinating, but again, I didn't know a ton about it. I knew Nick Fury was involved, and there was some kind of like spy organization kind of stuff, and that Hickman was the guy. Other than that, it was pretty much a blank slate, but I was delighted with what I found. This is positioned after the Brian Michael Bendis Secret War, and it happens right around when the Secret Invasion happens in the Marvel Universe. I don't know that you necessarily have to read those works before diving into this collection, but it does help give a bit more context and framework for what's happening here. This is where there might be a little bit of minor spoilers as far as just the basic setup as you enter into this book. Essentially, we come at a place where S.H.I.E.L.D. has basically been disbanded. S.H.I.E.L.D. is no more. There's another organization in its place called Hammer that is led by Norman Osborn, who is kind of the head of national security at the time in the Marvel Universe. Yes, if you haven't read Secret Invasion or the Dark Reign era, this might be a bit surprising. At any rate, that's the framework we have starting this book. We have Nick Fury kind of without an organization, without sort of a flag to fly, but still wanting to fight his war for good in the sight of right. And here we have essentially the basic premise or idea of this whole work, which is that there are other organizations out there, Hydra is one of them, that are doing kind of terrible things. And even the national security of America is in jeopardy based on whose hands it's in. And Fury is still doing Nick Fury stuff. He's still doing all these kind of spycraft political games. And one of them is this work with a team that's known as the Secret Warriors. Essentially, they're all descendants of Marvel villains, supervillains. A lot of them are like second or third string Marvel villains. Some I frankly had never heard of. And these are basically their progeny, their offspring, who may or may not even be aware of who their parentage are. At any rate, these people have gifts, abilities, superpowers, and they've been kind of untapped by any other organization or group of characters. But basically, Nick Fury had a file. They're called kind of caterpillars. They're basically people that they know could be person of interest, have powers, might be tapped for later use. And basically, he's calling them together, and he's having them led by Daisy Johnson, who is another one of these characters. And basically, they form this ragtag group of, let's call them heroes, who are tasked with basically saving the world with their unique skills and abilities. Nick Fury kind of runs them all from the shadows via Daisy Johnson, but we have the feeling the whole time that Fury is basically playing chess and everyone else involved are merely pieces on his game board. That might sound cold, but that's really the feel you get from this. This is a straight-up political thriller action series that does have some superheroics, but it really leans more into that political thriller subgenre, maybe a little bit of kind of spy fiction as well, and I think it all works really well. Having Fury so enmeshed in these kind of clandestine organizations, playing all these kind of games, but also employing this new team, I just think it was a really fascinating work. I love that they had a lot of great Marvel callbacks and characters from old school Marvel comics. It all worked really well. Some great things that just felt very fresh. I think this book was a real page turner, and it had a lot for me personally as a reader, and I think there's a lot out there for people that enjoy these kind of subgenres. I know as a Jonathan Hickman fan, it was really great seeing one of his earlier works in Marvel Comics, being a fan of his Fantastic Four run and what I've read of his Avengers run, loved House of X, Powers of 10, to name a few things he's done at Marvel, but this was certainly a fun entry into his milieu. As far as the extras at the back of the book, we have the full cover art gallery. We don't really have the covers properly included at the front of the issues. This is something that's very common in the Jonathan Hickman omnibuses. He really saves his covers for the back of the book. That being said, we have kind of little half-cover quotation pages at the front of each issue that I think were still fairly serviceable, but it's nice to have the full gallery at the back. We also have a full script and kind of note outline of one of the issues from Hickman, which was really fun to see, along with some character models, sketches, production images, things like that. Overall, this was a really great omnibus. It's under 1,000 pages, but it's still a pretty good size. It's a story that has a really good, decisive beginning, middle, and end. It's definitely very character-driven as far as the story type and construction, and I think it just works. We do have a layered narrative, but it's maybe not as dense as Hickman's later Marvel work. A really great, refreshing read when there's so many other mainstream, straight-up superhero flights and tights kind of dramatic superhero comics. To have a book that feels like a work of spy fiction or political espionage kind of thriller stuff, it just feels like a whole different thing. And to have this under the Marvel logo, deep within the Marvel universe without feeling too superhero-y, well, frankly, it was more than refreshing. Really, really liked this book. I'm just flipping through a little bit more of the extras here at the back of the omnibus. You got to see all the art throughout it. The art, even though it changed hands a few times, was really consistent. I love the style personally. I think the art was definitely one of the selling points in this book as well for me. Some incredible creative talent on this book. If you're interested in a more full review of this title, definitely check out my channel, The Comic Book Report. If I haven't released it yet, I surely will in the coming days, a full review of this omnibus. And if you want to pick up your own copy, of of course, you have to go to Organicpricedbooks.com. Definitely try to snag this one while it's still in stock. I know that this is an omnibus reprint, and with how hot of a writer Jonathan Hickman is, and how great a lot of his omnibuses are over at Marvel, I can really see this one, once it's out of print, being a really desired item for a lot of collectors. So definitely consider picking it up if it sounds remotely fascinating for you and you're able to with the funds out there. I definitely think it's worthwhile, and if you do, I sincerely hope you enjoy the read. At any rate, thank you for watching, and as always, have a good one.